Oh, jeez, I just got lucky right there. Everything's a blur. I didn't even see that thing. Oh, there's something. Oh, there it is. And let's see. Man, this is making my eyes hurt. Alright, enough of that. Whew. Oh, hello everyone. This is the Victormaxx model VM1000 StuntMaster. It was made in the early 90s, I believe. This was supposed to be like a virtual reality headset for use with the Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis, as I'm doing here, except that I don't have the original connector for it, so I had to rig this thing up. But, I mean, it's working. But, I don't know, this thing's just, it's frustration on your head. The screen, like, you have to focus so, like, try to focus so hard because the position of the screen. I can imagine people getting headaches from using this thing. The sound's not the greatest. I mean, it works, but whatever. We're going to be doing a teardown of this thing. And in case you haven't been able to tell already, I got this for 90 cents. So, let's tear it down. Let's see what's in it. It's certainly no Oculus Rift. I mean, the screen resolution ran at like 240 by 86 or something like that. So, let's see what's inside. Before we actually open this thing up, let's take a quick look inside what you would actually see if you were wearing this thing. It's got a single LCD in the back of the unit here, and it runs at a whopping 240 by 86 pixels. So that's it's really low, and as you can see, like anything that's text is pretty much unreadable. Not to mention that the contrast is impossible to adjust. It's got a couple of knobs here on the bottom that you can use to kind of tweak it, but it actually looks a lot better on camera than it does in real life for some reason. You can't even hardly tell what you're looking at when you're wearing this thing. On the bottom of this thing you have several adjustments. You have one for the tint, you got one for your brightness here. There's a little reset button here, which I'll kind of explain what I think it's for in a second. There's also volume and sensitivity, as well as a few dip switches here for what says mode. They're either on or off. It's got stereo speakers, so that's them right there. I think this reset is actually also part of this sensitivity here, where what this had is right here on the side. It's got this this little piece that swivels. What you would do is there was actually a stick that you would mount in there that would come down and actually rest on your shoulder. So what it was supposed to do was, when you were wearing this thing, if you were to turn your head one way, it would cause this to rotate a little bit or go the other way, because it depended on its relativity to your shoulder. So your shoulder being here, this thing would kind of rotate, and supposedly that was so you could change your field of view in whatever game you were playing or whatever you were doing. This was actually, I guess, somewhat popular with these people that used to mess with a program called Rend 386, which was a virtual reality program back in the day. Supposedly they kind of hacked it so that you could use this with that program, and as you were looking around in the actual program, you'd kind of turn your camera like left to right or whatever you were doing. It can't do up and down because there's no way for it to do that. There's nothing there to make it go up and down. Even though it looks kind of chunky, it's actually really light. It's just mostly like empty space in here, I'm assuming, pretty much. Got a few screws here. Looks like just 4 holding the thing together. Not much else on the outside other than the straps are adjustable, so you could adjust it to the size of your head. I couldn't actually find what the original price of one of these units was, but according to some marketing material that I saw for this, it said it was less than the cost of a portable television, which around the time, if I remember correctly, could go like for several $100s. I think I remember seeing some for like $300-400. So if this thing was set to be less than the price of one of those, I'm assuming it was still more than maybe 150-200 range. I'm not exactly sure, but that still seems like a lot for this thing. So the mode switches down here, what those were meant for was that there was actually, you could have it running in Super NES mode or Sega Genesis mode. And I think the difference with those is that it would connect to the controller ports on the console itself. Actually I didn't show it yet, but on the other end of the cable here is this 15-pin connector. It's got the video input, it's got left and right audio, and then it has the data lines that would go to the console. So it came with, I don't have them here, but this came with, I'm guessing, 2 different types of adapters that you could use. One where you would connect it to your Super NES, and one where you connect it to your Genesis to provide the input for your games and stuff. But you know, with a lot of games being like 2D side scrollers and things like that, I'm guessing there's only so much you could do with being able to turn your head left and right. I'm guessing maybe it would make your character run left or right. I'm not exactly sure how that would work, to be honest. It seems really weird to me to have this thing where you could turn your head with those kinds of games. And you know, there were some other games. I remember playing one on the Sega Genesis where it was like a jet fighter game where, you know, it was pretty 3D, although I don't remember exactly what that game was called. But you know, maybe something like that, you know, if it kind of could make you look left or right, something like that might work. I don't know. But okay, I got these screws off here. I think this should just come off. There it goes. Okay. Apparently these straps are attached to the side of these speakers here. I don't know if that just pops off. I don't really want to break it, so I'm going to try to be careful here. Let's see. Okay, this is just sliding off there. Let's push this cable through a little here. This might give us some slack. And there we go. Holy crap, there's a lot more in here than I thought there would be. So here's where the cable comes into. It's just a standard single pin header there. There's the LCD. Got 2 other boards here on the side. I'm gonna take a look at those. Here's one. Here's the side with the speaker that has the. I'm guessing this is gonna be a potentiometer in there. It's got to be. And looks like this might need to be snapped open. Not 100% sure yet. We got this other side here. Just has the 2 wires going to the 1 speaker. Let's see here. It's got some hot glue. Let's just peel this off. Luckily, it's not encased completely in hot glue. So let's. There we go. Come on. Alright, let's just pull these cables out of here. There we go. So these go down here. Looks like these boards are just, yeah, these boards are just slid into these grooves here. They're kind of tight. Huh. Come back to that one. This one here came off a little bit easier. So this board has the contrast and brightness adjustments for the LCD. Let's take a look here. Yeah, it says tint and brightness right there. Looks like there's some unpopulated stuff. I don't know what else is supposed to go here. And just so I can put this thing back together the way it went, so I remember how it goes, I'm just gonna mark it. The red paint pen here. Do the same here. No, it says pin 1, but I don't know if they actually followed. Yeah, looks like they did. Okay, so they're... No, actually they're not, because this one here is got the little arrow denoting pin 1, but this was hooked up in this direction, so pin 1 is actually on this side, and on the board here they have pin 1 being on this side. So I'm just gonna make sure that they're properly marked. We're gonna disconnect that. So here's one of the boards, tint and brightness board. Got a 34063 here. Not sure off the top of my head what that is. I'll have to look it up. But got your little momentary push button here. Some caps. It's like a little tantalum right there. Not much else. Some resistors, a couple diodes, inductor. So yeah, they left off quite a bit on that board. So this is the lens out of the front here. I thought it was just a single one, but actually there's two of them. I guess they decided that one wasn't enough magnification or something, so they used two. And wearing this thing actually feels like it's going to give you a headache, because it's just so hard to focus on the LCD when you're looking through this thing. I can't imagine that people didn't get headaches from using one of these things. Trying to take this board off here, but it's not budging. I don't know why it's in there so hard. I don't know if maybe they used some adhesive on it. Doesn't look like they did. That doesn't mean they didn't. Okay, that's we're just gonna come back to that again. Alright, figured out that those just come off like that. Just gotta tilt them out a little bit. They come off. So that's the top side here where the cable comes in. Not a whole lot in there. Just some hot glue. Some little plastic structures here to cover any other light from coming in through where the LCD is supposed to be. Okay, finally got this board out. Took a little bit of persuasion, but it came out. So on here we have a PIC Micro, a 16C71. So this one here would be programmed to run all the commands to the consoles for controlling them in game. So that's why they have this mode switch here. They're able to, I guess, load different commands to be sent to the console from the PIC here. And we got our speakers hooked up to this 4-pin connector right here. Go ahead and mark that one too. Pull that off. And then there's 3 here that are coming from the side that has the mount for the little shoulder piece here. These 3-pin connector. So that's that's got to be a potentiometer. We have this ribbon cable here that coming from this board that went over to the tint and brightness board. Gonna give this a mark. See, I don't know what they were doing here, but the pin 1 on this one is on this side, and on the board, pin 1 is on the opposite side. So, I don't know what they were thinking with that. It just seems like it makes it more confusing to put together, if anything. So here's this board. It's got two 386 amplifiers here, so one going to each speaker. Not much else. Here's the main input output connector. Got your 3 little dip switch right there. Not a whole lot. The sensitivity pot goes directly into the PIC micro here, and that's running at 16 megahertz. I didn't think it would have been that high. Not much else in there. This one here goes to the LCD. They're all marked where they go to. That one there says to power board. This one here says LTRT. I'm not sure if that stands for left right. Probably does. So that's it on that board. Double-sided. Really old school board. And there's the LCD itself. As you can see, it's super tiny. Wondering if it'd be possible to replace it with something a little bit bigger and maybe make this thing a little more useful for something else. And that's not sure how this is attached in there. It's not just sliding out. Might have some double-sided tape or something. I hope it's not hard to see in there, but it's got this huge lamp right behind that tiny LCD. You can see it right there. I'm trying to remove this board, but I'm having a really hard time doing it. And right here on the back it says caution, high voltage, so this is probably going to be part of the inverter for that lamp. Of course, I wasn't expecting this thing to use LEDs or anything like that. It's being so old as it is. So, okay, this thing was just got this big chunk of double-sided foam here, which is what was holding it to the bottom of this piece here. So really not much else here. Like I said, a lot of this was just plastic. And there's our LCD. There's the controller for the LCD. It's got this huge ribbon here going from that board over to the main LCD itself. Let's see how much more we can open it up here without breaking anything. It's got one chip on here. It's a M51 286FP. That's guessing it's probably going to be a separator for the video input to separate the colors between red, green, and blue. Not 100% sure on that. Looks like I'm going to have to desolder these little tabs that are soldered onto the board right here, then we can lift that out and take a look underneath. Okay, I desoldered those tabs here from this board. Now this board's coming out. I'm going to flip it over and take a look at what's on the other side. I'm trying to be really gentle with this ribbon here because it doesn't have a flat flex connector here. It's just soldered directly onto the board. And that's what we have on the other side. This chip here says A71-2180. No clue what that is. There's actually a smaller crystal here and this larger one. Not sure what this one is. It's probably going to be a 3.5. Yeah, it's just a standard color burst crystal there. Looks like They actually had mounts here for the brightness and the contrast, but because they're not on this board anymore, because they're on the accessible from the bottom, they didn't populate them. They actually have the cables running through here, and then there's another one here. Although that means that this one here was probably for something else, a function which is apparently not even available on this board. As you can see, there's the pins here for that potentiometer, but whatever circuitry it was supposed to have is actually not attached. That actually, now that I think about it, maybe that was an audio amp, and this thing was supposed to be like a whole self-contained video audio monitor, and that might have been for volume, but since nothing else is populated, then there's no point in having that on there. Looks like the LCD itself is just held in with these bent clips here. If you unfold them out, maybe we can pull out the LCD and take a look at it. Here it comes. Oh, look at that. Look at that. They got 1, 2, 3, 4 ICs on that LCD. On this one here, it looks like you can actually see the bottom of it, where these here are actually mounted from the, these are mounted on top, that one's mounted on the bottom of the glass. Gonna get the macro lens here and we can take a better look at this one here. It looks pretty interesting. This is they have a lot of glass like dangling off of the end of where the actual display area is, so they got about not quite half an inch, maybe 3/8 or so here, and then about another 3/8 down here. And this, it just easily peels off. So that was just held on by a little bit of double-sided tape as well. That's the back side of the LCD right there. You can see the bottom of these 3 other ICs right there. Huh. I've never seen anything like this before, so this is a really primitive LCD technology here. It's made by Citizen. Made in Japan. This is the backlight unit. It's just this kind of opaque white plastic, and as you can see, there's the lamp right there. So a step-up transformer is going to be underneath this little metal can, and you only have 2 things going in here, the negative and the positive. I'm going to take a stab and say that this is probably running at like 6 volts, because that's one of the input voltages to this thing. I don't think we can take, yeah, we probably can. Let's take this plastic off here. They really like using their hot glue on this stuff. Whoopsie, cracked that plastic. They melted these onto the board. So I'm gonna trim these off here so I can pull this board out. So you can pry it out. Alright, there we go. And we still can't completely pull it out because it's got these other tabs right here. But looks like maybe we can kind of bend this out a little bit. We're just gonna bend this up Oh, there you go, came off. So there's the lamp. Pretty big lamp for such a small LCD. They've got two fuses on this board, one down here and one down there. And it's kind of funny how they did this. They've got the wire from that fuse coming from here, which is that point right there. So it comes up, goes down here underneath the lamp, goes down through that hole, comes back up around and onto here, which then goes to the positive here. So they have another one on this side that looks like it's coming from the, this might be coming from the transformer directly. It comes here through that fuse in through the hole, around, out the other side and into the lamp. And then the other pin from the lamp here goes directly to ground. So we're gonna remove this can and see what's underneath. Okay, so we've gone ahead and desoldered the two tabs that held the little can here in place. Now we're taking the can off. And it looks like just a standard little step-up transformer configuration here. You just got your two little transistors, your inductor, little cap right there. Let's see, cap for the output. Not a whole lot, not very interesting, but I figured let's I got 6 volts here. Let's just power it up. See how bright this is outside of the whole assembly. Yeah, I better not touch that. Huh. It's not very bright. See if it brightens up over a few seconds here. It looks like it might have gotten a little bit brighter, but it's really not that bright. And it really wouldn't have to be all that bright if you're wearing this anyways, because it's already kind of in the dark, so you should be able to see it just fine. Let's take a look now at one of these speaker assemblies. I'm only going to take this one apart because the other one, all it's going to have inside is that one speaker, and I'm sure it's not going to be that exciting. So we'll just take a look at this one here and call it that. It's got some little plastic tabs holding in place here. You can actually kind of tell where they are because there's a little bit of a wider gap there on those sides. And there we go. Not much to it. Yep, that's all it is. Potentiometer. And actually, it looks like this is this side was broken here. No wonder I thought this felt kind of loose, but I didn't know why. Obviously, I've never played with one of these before. But this little mounting post here, which is supposed to hold this pot in place, is broken. So that would explain why that felt so loose. And the value on this is, I can't tell. Wonder if I can pull this off. There we go. That came off. So it's 10K pot. And there's a speaker. 8 ohms. 0.1 watt. Really a tiny thing. Now for what I think is going to be the most interesting part of this teardown is the drivers here on the LCD. If you kind of look at an angle there, you can actually see the individual traces running down to the actual display part. These are actually pretty big for this LCD, but then again, if this really is a 240 by 80 or 86 or whatever resolution display, then it would make sense to have 3 of these on the top up here, because the 3 times 80 would be 240. So I'm guessing, yeah, each one of these is driving 80 columns there. And then we've got the one on the bottom here,
See if we can tilt that one and take a look. Yeah, there we go. You can see the traces coming out of that. Yeah, there we go. You can see them right there, especially if you're watching in HD. And the bottom side. Let's flip that one over. And we can see that there's really only 1, 2, 3, 4. There's a total of 5 connections going to that particular chip. If I tilt it over, you can see each individual pin there going to a trace that's going to the LCD itself. You can actually see where the 5 contacts there go to the inputs of that driver. So this is going to be the row drivers there, and then the top are the columns. I don't know if I'm going to be able to focus here on these pixels. The LCD, they're kind of hard to see. I think this is going to be about as good as it gets right there. So there we go. One thing I hadn't shown you is that basically the 3 individual column drivers are connected in parallel, with the exception of what's going to be some of the control lines for each one. And then the row driver here basically has its own set of data lines going to it, as we can see on the end here. So all those are being controlled by the main LCD controller right there, and it's just taking turns basically activating each one or sending data to each one of those drivers. So there we are. That was a teardown of the Victormaxx VM1000 virtual reality goggles. And if you liked these teardowns, you can let me know by giving it a thumbs up. So thanks a lot for watching.